Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your host, Dr. Anthony. We kind of switched things up a little bit, so I wasn't kind of prepared. I was waiting on my normal intro, but we actually did the countdown. So hopefully next week we'll have my normal intro back with the music and, my voiceover of the actual video. So we have a lot of things, interesting things that we are going to discuss today. And we're basically going to talk about Black America and White America, and we're going to outline the differences. So we have Mark Lee, my producer, in the house, and we also have the beautiful Ida Bullock in the house. Make sure you check out her
Miss Ida disappeared, so
podcast.
hopefully you'll come back
Oh,
on
she
in a
disappeared. Oh,
second, but
sorry.
she bounced off and bounced on, so
So
I know
we
she's traveling.
had the
So,
beautiful Ida in here. She'll be back hopefully shortly. So
and
she
just to
has her
let you
pearls
know,
today.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
she had her pearls. I saw the pearls, and she's coming back. And just to let you know, the video was just having a little bit of a glitch. So when we close the show, your usual video will be there, and it'll definitely be there to open the show
Okay.
on next
Thank
week and everything.
you.
But we're just having a
Yeah,
little
because it
bit
kind
of
of
a
threw me
glitch.
off for a little
Yeah.
bit. And I'm like, wait a minute, where's my video? Where's my music? There's the beautiful Miss Ida B. Make sure you what you got on the hashtag clutching your pearls. Oh, it's
Clutching
about to be
my,
real
just go,
good.
just go with clutching my pearls. Y'all find me how you find me. You find me how you
Make sure
find
you
me.
check her out at IdaLBullock.com. Make sure you hit her up for your minister needs. She's a coach, pastor coach.
I don't know why she be giving me to these church folks. I said church folks are the worst folks, Mark.
Girl,
You
I got
never
to.
stop her,
Somebody
Mark.
got to give you
You
to the
never,
church
you
folks. I
never.
mean,
Yeah,
although I am church folks, I am a PK, and that's a preacher's kid or whatever.
yeah.
I just don't operate in the capacity of a preacher's
But see,
kid.
they
I'm
had you
I'm that
finish. Mark,
outlier.
they had you
Well, I know
finish.
we're gonna get to
That's
another
why.
very important topic, but Miss Ida, I gotta ask you a question because you just kind of alluded to it. Do church folks even pay? Because sometimes I'm wondering whether church folks even bother to pay. Because sometimes they can be some cheap folks as well. Not saying all church folks, but sometimes church folks can be on the cheap side. So, what's your thoughts, Miss Ida? Because you be over there trying to get some business, and I'm wondering, are the church folks actually paying you, or are they just asking for you to send them some
Oh, they
dollars?
be talking about love offering. I be talking about contract. They said we gonna take. Oh no, they got me one time. They said we gonna take. I said no, you going. So you gonna let me tell the joke and then let them. Pastor, they don't even give you money. So I know talking we gonna take up a love offering. You know how you go to Pentecostal church? They say no contract. They they be smart. I ain't mad at them, but only 20% of people go to church actually pay tithes and offering, and other 80% is there for the free ride. But those 20, find you real quick. They like Tawana, you the pastor daughter. I know you put they leave the basket in front of her a long time. You know how they pass the basket? They be like,
I
just
normally
stop.
just put $20 in the collection. If it's my
You
church, I
wrong.
put $20. If it's
Wow.
somebody else's church, I put $10. So
Dr. Anthony, you don't fall for that little trick where they ask, for the they do like the
Building
scaling up. So
fund,
ask
the
for the
building
dollar
fund.
first, then ask for the $5, then ask
well,
for
the thing about it is, if it's my church, the church that I physically belong to, I will put more. If it's somebody else's church, I'm giving the bare minimum, and I normally give between $5 and $10 because
So
my
she done
my
told you what's up.
responsibilities is not to their church. My responsibilities is to my home church to make sure our stuff getting taken
Oh,
care of, because people don't understand what tithes are actually for. They think that, because a lot of people see that the people are tithing, and they see that a lot of ministers misuse the tithes and things like that. But the tithes is to pay the people who work in the church, is to pay their salaries, and it's also to pay the church bills. That's why you tithe, and that's why they ask people to give 10% of their earnings and things like that. It's not that you're taking care of things that shouldn't be taken care
mhm.
of. And that's the misconception that a
Now
lot
I
of
have
people have.
an opposite view against that. I tell people
Yeah.
tithing was under the Old Testament. It doesn't apply to the New. Don't get me wrong. I said if you are a member, you should know what the church is doing with the money. That's why sometimes they be like
No, you
non-members.
should know. You
Yeah,
should know what the
and
church is doing with the money.
we had a atheist CPA come to our church and teach tithes and offer, and people began to pay. They said, well, the government says this is a nonprofit, and you give them more than 250, they will keep them accountable. So you're doing this too much is given much is required. And ironically, people that are well-off don't have a problem with tithes and offering. Ironically, people that are not good with their money, they think the God is cursing them. And I used to say, if you don't know what to do with your 90, what is that 10 going to really do? And I just think people pay their light bill, give the last, and they are not good with financial management. And I always I do a set of jokes, Malachi, to keep my name out your mouth. I think the church, I get on my bandwagon. The church is a great I think the church is still the number one go-to for the Black community until being Crump and TikTok and other have shut them down. But I think it's such a missed opportunity, for wellness. And I know you're a PK kid. And I could tell when I went to a church and I could tell I paid quite a bit of tithes and offering. Let me tell you, because in the church, how you doing?
Your internet keeps going in and out, but as I was saying, there's a misconception behind the tithes and the offering and things, and people think that is used for other things, because you do have people who abuse their position in the church and things like that or whatever. But the church is a business. At the end of the day, it is a business, and it has to operate as a business. And I've seen a lot of people say, oh, the church did me wrong, the church did this. No, a person did you wrong. The church did not do you wrong. The church is just a body, is an entity, it's a place where you go to worship. It's a person inside of the church who did you wrong. So they need to learn how to separate the entity from the actual person who actually did them wrong. So they put everything into one as the church, like the whole church, the body of the church, everybody, the members, the deacons, the deaconesses, if they have deaconesses, and things like that or whatever. They clump everybody in together, and you cannot do that. You have to address the person who has done you wrong. And a lot of young folks, they're like, well, the church did me wrong. No, the church did not do you wrong. It was one person or 2-3 people did you wrong. So you cannot hold the whole church accountable for something that someone else did to you.
Unless you went to Bishop Eddie's own church, you could.
Unless you and I was gonna say, my father and I, we have conversations about the church and the members, and I let him know that, I'm not the child of his that should be working in his church.
Oh,
because my thing is, I'm the outlier when it comes to, his children. I'm the one that's always been boastful. I'm the one that always will let him know, hey, I'm going to the club and I'm dancing like a stripper. You know what I'm saying? And I have told my father this, and he's like, what, baby? You going to the club and you dancing like a stripper? I'm going to the club and I'm going to dance like a stripper. I don't hold anything from my parents. So if it's anything that's out there, it's going to come from me. It's not going to come from somebody else. I'm going to tell my parents. I'm going to let my parents know what I'm doing. You're not going to say, well, don't make me tell your father. What you mean? I've already told them. They already know what I'm doing.
Dr. Anthony, I got to teach you about something. Really quick. I got to teach you about something I want to hear Ida's thoughts, because I remember a long time ago living in a country town here in North Carolina, going to the church that was a very part of the community, a very set part of the community, and there was a serious revival going on, and right across the street was the church. So the church and the nightclub were spending a lot of time together and everything. So there's a lot of that goes on. So you got the folks that are,
but it is, but that was going to be my next comment, because my thing is, my thing is, like I tell my father, I'm not going to be pretending in your church like, I'm all holy roly and things like that. Yes, I have a relationship with God. Yes, I pray. Yes, I go to church, but I also go, to the club. I go to day parties and things like that or whatever. So my father knows all of this about me. And it's not like, I'm trying to shield and I'm trying to hide anything or whatever, because my thing is, when you're perfect, let me know. You know what I'm saying? When you're without sin, let me know. But like I tell my father, I'm not going to be up in the club with your members and then come on Sunday, they don't want to speak to me because we both in the club shaking our ass. And then, they up at the pulpit and the altar acting like they holier than thou. So, I'm just like, I stay in my lane when it comes to, my father and his church or whatever. I don't overstep my boundaries when it comes, because I already know I'm out there. I'm in the world. I still do worldly things, and I'm not about to, give people a false narrative of who I am as a person. He knows I go to the club. club. He knows I drink. He knows I do all of this stuff. He follows me on social media. We have conversations about this stuff. And he's like, whenever you get ready, God has called you to preach. And, whenever you get ready, you need to stop running. You know what I'm saying? And we just had this conversation when I was at home. So, I told him, once I, get all this buck wild out of me, then, I might, go ahead and step over to the other side. But it's no, pretending like I'm somebody else and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No, what you see is what you get. I don't fake and shake. I'm not about to put on airs like the old people say. I'm not about to put on airs. I'm not about to do any of this. This is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be. Ida.
regardless. Where's my anointing? Oh, I'm gonna have to start bringing. And I think really, I think as a PK kid or anybody, whether you're the Donald Trump or if you're the daughter of a leader in the community or any type of significant role, I think it's unfair at times because people have a magnifying glass on you. And PK kids is just like I think they're the worst kids in the church. They're the baddest, the wildest, the strippers. And I like how she owns hers. Most PK kids be on the slide, and hiding. I like how she's open with her. I think it's but I like how this is that one. I'm surprised only because she's been raised in church. I know otherwise I'm always surprised of her self-view towards the church. I give the church a hard time because the church is a nonprofit organization. I put the church in the same category. I put Goodwill, Salvation Army. They supposed to do some good in the hood. And I think as a lot of times, like you said, when people think of the church, like they think of a company, they think of the person. They think of the church as the pastor, then the deacon, and the ushers, and I've seen some grassroots church. Think about Joe Osteen Church was robbed for one tithes and offer, and he lost $300,000.
I think it's more than that.
And I always say, why is it the Black church have a different type of preaching than the white church? I go to a multiracial church, and I think sometimes the problem of the opportunity, I think, when the Black church, they preach down to the people. You got very smart, educated people come in there, and do you have some people to come there? They have an unreal expectation of what the church is going to do. And I just had a girlfriend. She's going through a divorce. And she said she got all this going through, and she blaming the church. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to sell.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't think they preach down to the people. It's just like social media, right? Facebook, TikTok, and all this other stuff is a business, correct? So we're going to look at it in terms of, being business minded. The church is a business at the end of the day. It's a 501c3. And if you don't know what that is, that's a nonprofit organization, and it has to run and it has to function as a 501c3. Now, when people say that, their money is not being utilized properly, they have to answer to the government. They have to file taxes. They have to do all of these things. And Ida made a comment. She said that some people think that the church, the pastor is preaching down to the people. My thing is, get them skeletons out your closet. Because if you wasn't over there doing the things that you're doing and trying to hide what you hiding, you wouldn't think the sermon was about you. The sermon is about in general. The sermon is not generalized to one specific person. When the pastor writes his sermon or comes up with his, pray about his scriptures that he's going to preach from, he's not thinking about Dr. Anthony. He's not thinking about, let me pray. Let me go out here and preach to my daughter because my daughter's out here going to the club. You know what I'm saying? The message.
Hold on a second, Dr. Anthony. I got to interrupt you because I had a friend of mine who's still a minister. He is a very outspoken minister on some social justice issues and is maybe more forgiving for certain communities. And I won't say which communities those are, but I'll go ahead and say one of them is the drug community and the other is the LGBTQI community. And I do know for a fact, because I wasn't there, but I have multiple witnesses that were there. So I'm thinking that these are reliable sources that said that as soon as he popped into the church of a different pastor, that pastor literally changed his sermon to make it almost an attack on him and some of the things that he wears. And
well, how do you know he changed his sermon? How do you know that this sermon wasn't already premeditated and already wasn't on the lips of the pastor? You know what I'm saying? Pastors, and I'm not saying that they don't. They probably do. But I know from speaking from experience, growing up in the church, I was raised in the church, lived in the church practically, or whatever. The message is general. It's a generalized message. And, you know, like I said, if you didn't have them skeletons in your closet, you know, it wouldn't be a problem or whatever. That's just like on social media. Question, Pearl. No, because we're talking about from the business standpoint. Social media is a business. And so when we make posts on social media, people are talking about, oh, why you make that post about me? I wasn't making the post about you. But since you want to go there, the post can be about you. It's just a generalized post. It's just a generalized statement. But like I said, if you didn't have them skeletons in your closet, and if you wasn't bumping your gums and running your mouth and talking about me, you wouldn't have the inclination or the audacity to say that I was talking about you. Because guess what? The only person that I compete with is the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, and that's my damn self. I don't compete with nobody else. I don't compete with no bride because I don't feel like they're on my level. I don't feel like they can stand in my shadow. So why am I going to give energy and waste energy and put that into somebody else when I can put it into myself and I can compete with myself? So everything goes back to the mindset. So if you wasn't over there doing what you was doing, you wouldn't think the pastor was talking about you. And I'm not saying that they don't talk about LGBTQ community, because some of them do. They're just preaching what's from the Bible and what's from the word. And like I tell people all the time, you know, your sexuality has nothing to do with me. That's between you and your maker. Whatever God that you're praying to, that's between you guys. What affects me is how you treat me as a person. Now, if you treat me horrible as a person, then I have a problem with you. But if we're good and we can get along and we can discuss issues, I have a bunch of gay friends. We talk about the LGBTQ community all the time. We talk about issues all the time. Because my thing is, you have to have those courageous conversations in order for change to take place. And if you're out there and you're not able to talk to people, then it's a problem. You know, people are going to be who they are. Hell, I was in a relationship with a married man. So what makes me different from an LGBTQ person? A sin is a sin. No sin is greater than the other. So am I better because I was still in a heterosexual relationship with the married person? Or are they worse because they're in a same-sex relationship? So if we're gonna look at it from the standpoint of being biblical, no sin is greater than the other. You know what I'm saying? And what it says, who lives without sin cast the first stone. Who can live without sin? We're all part of, you know, this whole thing of sin. That's why God says we pay for redemption, and we redeem ourselves, and we pray for forgiveness and those things. You know what I'm saying? So I hear
what you said. I gotta teach you about.
That's just like, you know, when we're having these discussions, and I'm talking about white women. Am I talking about the whole masses of white women? You know what I'm saying? For the most part, 95.95% of them, yes. But, you know, the other 0.5%, no, I'm not discussing you. But I am basing my things off of factual knowledge. It's just not I'm pulling this out of my ass and saying, you know, this is what happens. This is based off of statistics. This is based off of data. This is based off of sound, factual information. So, you know, my thing is, you know, if you're not coming like that, then don't come at all. But like I said,
you gotta come correct, and Miss Ida, we're gonna definitely hear from her as well. But I gotta tease you, Dr. Anthony, because I didn't know this, because many folks that are watching, but not all of your crowd, don't know this. But I am a lover, even though I haven't heard a lot of the music lately of blues music and Zydeco. But I didn't realize that half the songs were about you, since the songs are usually about the other woman and everything. So now I know that it is really songs about you and everything, since you just said that you fell in that category. So I had to teach you.
I don't fall in that category anymore. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm moving on to bigger and better things.
Totally.
I'm just speaking from the past experiences. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, my thing is your past experiences will teach you how to be better and how to not repeat mistakes and things like that or whatever. You know, I don't judge people off their past. Your past is your past. You have to learn how to, you know, live and grow and things. And it's all about growing opportunities. And as we're talking about the church, we're talking about testimonies. Everybody has a testimony. Everybody has done something. Everyone has been through something. So what is your testimony? Your testimony is different from mine. My testimony is different from yours. You know, we all are different. But at the end of the day, I'm not speaking in general about specific about no one. I'm just speaking in general. And I can tell you that I don't talk about no one unless you have done something.
Like I said, I was just teasing you when I said that.
Call your name out on my show, and then I'm gonna blast you on social media that you have specifically done something to me. Because what you gonna do? You can't book me. You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? Because they already know Pastor Sibley kids will fight, and this one right here got a quick right. So I'm just saying, you know, Just
Hey,
in
I do
general.
have to ask you this, and this is for both of y'all, because definitely we kind of alluded to it, and I'm gonna actually loop the conversation
Hi,
that
more
you wanted
Electron
to talk
Brain.
about into the other conversation, because
Oh
sometimes
no,
I
we're gonna
think
get to
that
the other
no,
conversation.
but
We're
I'm gonna loop
definitely gonna.
the two together because I sometimes think that there is a misconception that there is more fun and more of a community within the African American church than there are in other churches. But I've seen some social gatherings that were very sociable in the predominantly white churches. But don't get me wrong, if it's going to be going to a homecoming as opposed to a homegoing and everything, I'm going to want to go to the black church kind of family reunion because that's all it is to me is one big family reunion in terms of the homecoming, not the homegoing and everything, because there is a differentiation and all in that space. But I know that those you're gonna get some real good potato salad at that good old fashioned homecoming reunion and everything.
Well, I'm just gonna put it to you like this: I'm not eating no raisins in my potato salad. Okay, so I tend to stick to what I know, and I tend to stick to my own. And all I can do is just base it off my experiences with my church. My mom is Southern Baptist. I grew up Southern Baptist, and I also grew up kind of holiness and non-denominational because my father is non-denominational. So I was in between the two. So my mom church doesn't believe in women preachers, and you got to be covered. You don't wear pants. Now my father church, total opposite, believes in all that stuff. You can wear pants, you can pretty much just come. And so it's different. So yes, the my father's church, they did do a lot of things in the community. They still do a lot of things in the community. And also my mom's church, they do a lot of things for the children in the church, within the church family. So yes, we do participate because that's the family church. We do participate in different activities and things like that. And then we have the old mamas, they call them the old sisters, that be in the kitchen, cooking up everything with the white plates and potato salad and putting that one piece of chicken on there with that with that lemon cake. Because I'm quite sure Sister Ida got some jokes about it. I'm quite sure Sister Ida got some jokes. So
You got
they be in the kitchen and things like that or whatever. So it just depends. It depends on your upbringing and everything. Because I remember as a child, I asked my mom, I was like, "Can I be Catholic?" And she was like, "Why?" Because my friends were Catholic. So I was like, I want to be Catholic. And she was like, "No, you can't be Catholic because she was just like, no, because it's gonna be too confusing for you because the religion and what they do is different from what we do. So you just gonna stay Baptist."
Oh.
So so I stayed Baptist until I joined my father's church. And the thing about it is, like, I don't like people touching me or whatever. So, in the black community and in the black church, they always want to hug you. Now, I am a hugger. I do hug, but I like to initiate the hug. Don't just come up and be like, I'm about to hug you. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going to have problems. Now, when my father was at a different church in the community, I had to move my letter because we all moved with my father. And so the letter is your letter of commitment that you are a member in that particular church. So I moved my letter from his first church that he was pastoring to the church that we currently own. So he was like, the church has to fellowship you in, the people got to come up and they got to hug you. I was like, well, can I just move my letter without them touching me, without them fellowshipping me, without them hugging me? So we had, before we went to church, I'm sorry, before we went to church, we had a whole service at the house, and my father called us all together, and he literally prayed for me. He was like, "Please let my baby, let the people fellowship her. Please let her, please let them touch her. Please allow them to hug her and touch her." Because I was like this, because I just don't, I have allergies and I'm allergic to a lot of things, so I just don't like people touching me, and I don't really like to, hug and touch on people and things like that or whatever. So yeah. I had
No,
to.
but along those same lines, and this is for Miss Ida, don't sometimes those churches be having way too much fun playing matchmaker? Because I know I've been to some churches with some of the women that were with the church as a single man and even a single man now. And if another person had come up to me making a prophecy about we gonna be together or we gonna do this or that, and I'm sitting there still trying to figure out if I like the person and everything, and they're trying to make predictions and all of that. I'm going like, nah, let me decide that.
Go ahead, Ida. Then I'm gonna say my piece.
And that was too funny. As a matter of fact, I don't know how my church know I'm unmarried and single. I just recently received an email from the church saying single nights at the bowling alley, and they want to get people together. And I guess they believe in the concept don't be unevenly yoked. But when a single brother, new member came to the church, a brother, oh my God, they was tender, eHarmony, Christian Mingle. They married you down so quickly. All the single sisters, they knew who we were. And I used to tell them I wear stilettos in church. I think you got me wrong with the wrong sister in the church, you know. And they try to, and like you said, it's funny. You know, like I said, I think the church, the black church, operates differently from the white church. I think the black church, which can be very be awesome because it operates as a family. You know, they consider you a family. But I think just like family, I think to me, you and I, T sort of agreed. I think the church does miss the opportunity to interface with the world when things going on in our black community, coming beside, or sometimes the church to me act almost like a soft version of the NAACP. And it used to be a time when anything went wrong, that pastor was on the press conference. You know, you had the pastor, the such and such, and so like he said, we don't want to throw the church under the bus. And I just think the church have not evolved as the world have evolved. And I do see some very good churches, and I don't think they're able, like you say, for instance, T, I've seen some churches don't have websites and they're not up to date. And so the younger people, my mother church, the average person her age is 60, so that means somebody's 70 and somebody's 40. And so some of these churches are dying off because they're not able to adapt to the technology and other things. You remember when the church first came out, you was on Facebook, you was going to hell, or you brought an iPad to check your Bible and different stuff. So, you know, I just think that I think the church, some of these churches have problems, but I look at the church as a business, and some people operate their business better than others. And I've seen some, like you said, T, I done been to some Catholic church where I got turned up for what? Because I like the Catholic church because they serve red wine. I done been to some church, you've been there so long, you need a W-2. And when you leave, you know, are you transformed? I think, like you said, even the Bible says some people got into church, running church because it was profitable. Joe Osteen, at most, is a great motivational speaker. It's, you know, and sometimes, it's, you know, when I think of New Orleans, so I think, you know, I don't have a problem with the church. I just think the church is so many missed opportunities. Like right now, we talking about your cousin, T. Carly Russell. I've been following her all over the weekend. And, you know, and her father is a pastor. Her mother, father, pastor. And I sat them watching him on national TV, and she was telling so many lies, he couldn't even say nothing. He was like, he looked like, I rebuke you in the name of, and they zoomed in, they made memes about it. And so
No, besides, she just came out today saying that she's admitting that the kidnapping was a hoax. I was just telling Dr. Anthony that earlier, and she's also
those charges are coming. She's going to.
I mean, you know, she did what she did. Because you know, I never voiced my opinion on it because I wasn't really feeling it. So I'm not gonna voice my opinion on it now because I wasn't really feeling her or it because I just didn't feel it in my spirit. So that's all you.
It was almost like you big old dummy. You want to, you know, now they're throwing her with what was that young man from that he did a hoax with the two African guys and said he was attacked. So Justin Smollett, what is his name?
I'm trying to remember his name, but you also had that. You also had that woman that claims that she had the whole incident with the drowning. I think that was in South Carolina, and that found out to be a lot of lies to that story as well.
And the reason they are really coming for her, because she brought the white folks. She said a white baby was missing. They never believed it, but she had people thinking you got people out here snatching up white kids. See, that's where she went wrong. And what we learned, the FBI and the government is well in tune of everything we do because of the technology. They broke that down. So you could see in the press conference, which they had another one today, they was trying to stop laughing. You could see the sheriff and it was holding back because it was so incredibly stupid. Now they done dragged it. You're not a nurse. You didn't even graduate. You flunked out of college. So what we gonna come back to what we always.
But now they try to use it. They try to use it as a bully pit to talk about other issues, and the issues are important because I know that her boyfriend has asked us to think about her mental health, and some people are talking about the bullying that apparently she went through and everything. So they're using it to talk about some serious issues.
But the thing with Dr. A, and I hate to let her get on her bandwagon, but I'm going to give her back the floor. We do not allow the Black community to have mental illness. We can be cray running down the street, butterball naked, unlike our white counterpart. You know, they will give her a pass. And I think for the Black community, I watched several commentaries on it. You know, this young lady's 25. She's trying to find out life. You know, she got all these underlying issues. Was it a dumb move? Absolutely. Now, should we bring her to the front of the pew in the church and work and lay hands? Or how should we really address the issues with these people? And once again, the Black community is divided. Black folks, you know, remember until the sniper, we didn't say Black folks didn't do mass killings. We had certain things that we said in the Black community that we did not do because we just operate. And so they call it a hoax, you know. And like I said, she can be in charge because she put a white person in there. They were always looking for that white baby, like one that comes to Ball Street, you know. And they knew everything she did. Now, also, I believe someone helped her. They found a mattress in one. Now, somebody else is going to get charged. But I felt bad for the mother and father who was on TV, and they didn't have a clue what their daughter had done. And there was, you know, everybody. So many people came beside because once again, the white news reports said, yeah, y'all always saying we're not looking out for the Black folk. Now, it was worldwide. And I think she didn't realize it was going to go that far. I think that young lady in her little way of, narrow way of thinking, wanted to get her boyfriend attention. She was in the woods unblocking her boyfriend. They got all her activities. So you just say, you know, and Dr. A, you know, you're the blackest of the Black when it comes. So I'm surprised you don't want to chime in on that because I think sometimes, Doctor, you my boo, my babe, my friend, but you always give the Black folks a pass. See, now this one is when Candace Owens was right. I hate to give CO the coon, or I don't like calling.
She's never right.
No, she was right because, like I said, Black people, we don't know how to leverage the news, the media. It was a dumb mistake, and then she keeps doubling down. Every time she doubles down, now you know.
But that has nothing to do with leveraging the news and the media. She just didn't think this. You know what I'm saying? She just didn't think it through.
She didn't think she was gonna get
came
caught
up with a dumb idea, and she thought that, you know, hey, I can do this and I can say that, and then this X, Y, and Z is going to happen. She never thought that it was going to get the attention that it is, you know, that it garnered or whatever. And like you said, they were looking for the white baby. They wasn't looking for her.
They were looking for her. But Dr. Anthony, along those same lines, there is a major movie out. We were talking about it, and it's not the movie that you're thinking about, even though we'll get to that later. But there's another major movie out that is laying hands or talking about a major issue that is in the community, but it's leaving our part of that conversation out. And I was wondering what y'all are thinking about this movie about human trafficking called The Sound of Freedom. So a lot of people are jumping on talking about this movie and how exciting the movie is, but it's talking about it from the perspective of the people that they were investigating, and the investigator who was white, I believe, going down there and investigating. But they don't talk about the trafficking that's going on, even of our own organs and our own body parts, that is part of the.
Well, of course they're not going to talk about that because that's beneficial to them and to their lives or whatever. But you know, my thing is, I was sitting in a conference at the state of Maryland when I worked at the prison system. And so the white lady who was presenting was talking about sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. So when she mentioned sex trafficking, the shit pissed me off. So I had to check her ass real quick, because what you're not going to do is you're not going to talk about Black men in that capacity like it's a Black man thing. It's not a Black man thing. White men started this. White men fly out the country all the time and go have sex with these young Latinos, with these young Asians and things like that. How do you think they got all these diseases? They didn't get them from Black men. Passport brothers. I'm not saying that Black men wasn't doing it, but I'm just saying in recent years, the Black man has just started, you know, picking up and doing the things that the white men are doing. So they're following in their footprints and their tracks and things like that. So I basically had to shut her down. I said, because I have a Black son, I have Black brothers, I have Black uncles, I have a Black boyfriend, I have Black cousins. So what you're not about to do is you're not about to label all Black men as a sex trafficker. You know who she had pictures of Bishop Don Juan. She had pictures of Exhibit. She had pictures of, you know, Snoop when he was portraying being a pimp and things like that or whatever. So this is the image that she was putting out there, and I had a problem with it. And so other Black people are sitting there looking crazy, like, why are you saying it? Yeah, I'm saying it because she's putting this out there like Black people are out there just pimping all these women and things like that, when the white man has started it, going to all these different countries and things like that. So I asked her, I said, so when are you going to address the fact that the white men fly out the country and do the same exact thing? But you have never said anything about that. She turned beet red. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, if you're going to talk about it in all capacities, talk about it in all capacities. Don't, just talk about it and have sound bites of what you want to say to target a person that you want to target. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Black men may be into the sex trafficking ring, but who started it?
Well, to that same point that you're saying, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree, because if you hear some of the media talking, I remember the movie American Gangster, and yes, that gentleman was very much involved in the drug trade. It was very heavily involved in the drug trade, and the same thing can be said about this movie, because apparently the movie paints one of the major sex trafficker as being an African-American gentleman that is one of the major players in the game. But I'm going like,
that's why we cannot believe anything in the movies. They painted Stagecoach Mary as white, and she was actually Black. They painted the first Cowboys as white, and they were actually Black. So, we cannot, and that goes back to, what we were talking about previously, Ida, about, Tyler Perry owning the studios and put it out our narrative and our versions of, history. Because if we allow them to put out our versions of history, they're going to whitewash it, and they're going to put out what they want to put out. You know what I'm saying? Black men didn't start sex trafficking. White men started sex trafficking. You know what I'm saying? So this is a movie that I probably won't be supporting.
But they've been doing that for a while, because Dr. Anthony, if you take a look at the paintings that a lot of Europeans are very proud of, like those of Michelangelo and a number of others, that was actually, they were commissioned to paint over the images, because the images were actually of the way that the Middle East really was, which was Black and brown people, and they were commissioned to make those paintings more Anglo and more Europeanized and everything. So they were actually commissioned to do what they've been doing.
And I get it, but if we really want to talk about, the historical aspects of, like sexual, relations and things like that or whatever, we can talk about it right here in America, because, back in the day when they had hotels, men slept in the same beds with each other. They didn't have separate rooms. They slept together. If they really want to, if we really want to get, the history behind, the whole sex thing. So they were already sleeping with each other, and then going back sleeping with their wives and things like that. So, gayism has been around, and, it's been around for forever, but people don't want to look at it from a historical aspect and, things like that or whatever. So it's been out there, and, like I said, and if they want to call it pimping or whatever, pimping hoes, pimping bitches, that's what they call it. We have to look at where it started from. We have to look at the root cause. And like I said, it's not going to address the root cause, because they started it, and they're going to paint it as if Black people started it. Black people didn't start this. White men have been doing this for years and years and years, and they have been infecting these young women with HIV, STDs, gonorrhea, and all kind of things, over there in those third world countries where they go to those different brothels and things like that. Now the Black men are getting hip to it, so now the Black men, guess what they want to do? Go to those third world countries and hit the the young women and things like that. And then a lot of times I watched the special or whatever, they pay extra if the girl is a virgin. You know what I'm saying? So, they have been doing this, so my thing is, like, if we're going to tell the story, tell the whole story. Don't tell parts of the story.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen the movie, and I will make sure I watch it this week.
Go ahead and watch it. I probably won't be watching it.
You should, because I'll allow you not to. I know you be on your thing. And I want to watch that Jamie Foxx movie. What, they clone Tyrone? I'm not a big movie buff, but anything dealing with Black people and Black history, and like you said, I think, like you said.
Wait a minute, back up, Ida. They clone Tyrone. I like the title, because it's like almost like one of the.
They clone Tyrone is on Netflix right now. And, the movie came out last week. Barbie and then there'd be some Oppenheimer. I'm not a big movie buff, but I will watch the commentary, and they're saying Barbie is a male bashing movie, and Barbenheimer, they're saying you need to watch both of those movies together, and like I said, I like how Dr. A is a strong, angry historian of the Black people. I think sometimes she
I'm not
takes.
angry.
She's not angry, but I gotta ask her. I gotta ask Dr. Anthony
That's when
something.
the name.
Power.
That's when the
No,
name calling comes. She
no,
didn't call
Dr.
I
me.
speak with
Anthony.
power. I
No,
speak with
Dr. Anthony,
power
I gotta ask you
and
something based on
passion.
another person of color. Because apparently one of the arguments that was put out there about Barbie, and it actually came from AOC, was that AOC is the modern feminist. Because her argument is that AOC never married Kim, that she has a multitude of friends of different ethnicities, and she's had just about every job you can imagine. Because there's the robotic engineer Barbie, there's a number of other Barbies. So AOC's argument is that she is actually maybe a stronger role model than we are giving her credit for. I don't have a Barbie, so I don't know. Then I'm not trying to get a
She's a
Barbie.
stronger role model for whom? White women? She has never been a stronger role model for black women. My mother never bought me a Barbie doll. I never wanted a Barbie doll. I got black dolls. I got pretty black dolls and things like that. And I don't even buy the babies Barbie dolls. So who was she a strong role model for? Barbie has never been in the image of or the likeness of black women. Barbie has always been in the image of white women, blonde, blue-eyed white women. You know, what's the character that Reese Witherspoon plays from Clueless? That is who she portrays. Barbie has never been, you know, a role model for, you know, black girls and things like that. And I don't understand the infatuation with the Barbie for, you know, like
Well, I guess
Well, Nicki Minaj referring herself as a Barbie.
exactly.
You know?
Nicki Minaj represents herself as a Barbie, but Dr. Anthony doesn't, because I think I'm beautiful. I'm way more beautiful than a Barbie. I don't want to be you know, labeled as clueless and, you know, can't think and, you know, like a dumb blonde, because that's exactly what she stands for. Because when they look at it, that's what she does. Oh my,
but that's the character
you know,
that I think that's what
no. I'm just saying she just said that she was representative and she's a role model. Role model for who?
Yeah,
For
because
who?
like I said, they're also talking about the different jobs she had. Because I didn't know that there is apparently a robotic engineer Barbie. So there is a Barbie that represents.
Let me tell you something, Mark. In recent years, they just came out with STEM things because STEM is the next big thing that they're pushing towards women. Barbie in recent years only came out with black dolls in recent years. Barbie never really had black dolls. So how can she be the epitome and a role model for a black woman? I don't understand that. I had a foster child and she told me, she said, I have a role model that's a white woman. I said, what? How can a role model be your how can she be your role model? She can't sympathize and empathize with you. She doesn't understand your struggle as a black woman. She doesn't understand what you go through when you walk out their door, because your lived experience is something totally different from her lived experience. She's seeing the world through her eyes and through her eyes only. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, we discussed this earlier, you know, with the white feminists and things like that or whatever. You know, that's why I'm not a feminist. I don't support that white feminist that BS that they have going on, because they vote against us all the time. And then when it directly affects them, oh, black women, we need to partner together. We need to do this. We need to do that. No, y'all stand y'all ground and y'all continue to do what y'all do and let us stand our ground, and we continue to do what we do. But as far as Barbie being a role model for whom? Barbie's not a role model for black women, for black girls, for Latinas, and well, maybe some because they want to be white anyway. But you know, no, for black women, and I stand hard pressed on that.
Well, I can tell you why they go there. You know, when children first, do you remember several in the 70s or the 80s, they did this illustration of they began to connect beauty with color. You remember they had little kids and they would putting a black child and a white child, and they begin. And so I can agree with you to a point that children begin to get conditioned when you go to the toy store, and before Toys R Us went out of business, 90% of that doll department was white and blonde, or white with brown hair. And the black people, we had not made a footprint. And once again, even though, like you would say, Dr. A, a lot of these things, the black community had been quiet. We were not the creator of some of those things. So now, yes, right around the late 70s, we began to create our own dolls, and we begin to present beauty to our young kids, because the role model they're referring to is their targeted market. You know, as a matter of fact, I think it's one scene clip in the movie that I didn't see. She was talking to young girls, and they said, "Who are you? Aren't you old and outdated? My grandmother played with you." And so they you know, and so I can understand how they're making a spin on the second runner up to a doll baby that I would hear people. Pocahontas. You remember they began to get fascinated with Pocahontas, and a couple of years ago Disney came out with that movie with the little Indian girl. Will America ever truly try to correct itself? No, that's not the intent. I understand what you're saying. But from a role model, that was the role models for the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then when black people, we began to take back our own, we realized that we were perpetuating that to our own young daughters, that this is the standard of beauty. Just like in Africa and Jamaica, you still have our black women bleaching themselves, making them. So, these are, like you said, these are very complicated conversation that must be had. And like
Dr.
okay.
Anthony, there was a film, and I'm actually going to pull up the part that I'm looking for and everything, that unfortunately was made almost 20 years ago, but I think that it is still relevant even to the conversation. And the scary thing is that it's still relevant, but I'm definitely going to play it. It was a film called A Girl Like Me. And then I think it kind of fits into what we are talking about and all along those lines. So if you give me a minute, let's hear this little bit of A Girl Like Me.
Conducted a doll test with black children. He asked them to choose between a black doll and a white doll. In most instances, the majority of the children preferred the white doll. I decided to reconduct this test as Dr. Clark did to see how we've progressed since then. Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you'd like to play with?
This one.
That one?
This one. I like to play with this.
And can you show me the doll that is the nice doll? And why is that the nice doll?
She's white.
And can you show me the doll that looks bad? Okay. And can you and why does that look bad?
Because it's black.
And why do you think that's a nice doll?
Because she's white.
And can you give me the doll that looks like you? "15 out of the 21 children preferred the white doll."
That was from 20 years ago almost. I think that movie was made in like 2000.
But it's so relevant to today because even
Right.
in the standard of beauty, in the image, in the modern world, they look at white women as the standard of beauty and things like that. And Ida, you and I discussed this, I think, a couple of shows ago, how white women adopt and take upon these black traits and full lips and big hips and thick butts and thick thighs, and so all of a sudden, oh my God, she's jazzy, she's this. But black women have been looking like this for years without the cosmetic surgery, and they were talked down upon and frowned upon in the community and made to feel bad about their natural features and their thick lips and their thick hips. And so that video is just proving my point as to why I am not, and definitely not, a Barbie supporter. Now, do I love the color pink? I love the color pink. Pink is my color, but I'm definitely not a Barbie supporter in terms of, this is what they portrayed as being beautiful. The only reason you adapted and you accepted blacks into, the whole Barbie brand is because you knew that you could make money off of it. That's why you accepted the black traits and the black dolls and things like that. It wasn't from a standpoint of that you thought black women were beautiful. You just knew that you could just make that money. So for me, I don't support that brand, and I don't support what they stand for, because that's the image that they push. Thin white women with blue eyes, blonde hair. That's their standard of beauty. Not black women. Not black.
But my thing is 15 black households had access to their black sons and daughter, and those are whatever is being perpetuated in their own home. Children are absorbing certain things. That's the video I was referring to. And like I said, it shows that the black people, I have some of my black friends that are so pro-black, similar to you, Dr. A, but they play a very active role in their home, making their children understand and love their blackness. To me, what I picked up on, whether they were living in the hood or educated, what was going on in those black homes that their children felt like that. You remember last year, 2 years ago, It was a little black girl. She was going to her hair braided, and she wanted.
And I was
long
just
hair.
about to say that. Yes.
And she began to cry, and her mother, who was very pro-black, said, "I don't know what's going on." And when they showed the school was 80% white, her classmates, and she began to see how, and everybody migrated. I think, I don't know when Oprah was still around, but some black talk show, and all of the black women, and we were very grieved. But then at the same time, we seen a black rapper say dark-skinned black women can't wear red lipstick. But we have problems in the black community that, yes, the media plays a part, but what are we doing as black mothers, aunts, and grandmothers as we seen our young black boys and girls feeding this and not addressing it?
No,
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but I've always addressed it. I addressed it with my son. I addressed it with my nephews. I've addressed it with my cousin. And there was another video of a young black girl. She was getting her hair done, and the lady showed her in her image in the mirror, and she said, "I'm so ugly." When she looked, and that broke my heart. You know what I'm saying? For this young child to sit there and say, "I'm ugly because I'm dark skinned. I'm ugly because my hair is not long. I'm ugly because of this, that, and the other." And those are the reasons why I cannot, sit here and support a movie, perpetuating white beauty as the standard and things like that. When we have little black girls out there, looking themselves in the mirror saying, "I'm not beautiful because I'm black. I'm not beautiful because, my hair is not long. And I'm not beautiful because my hair is not straight." But you are beautiful. And it's my responsibility as a black woman, as a medium tone, fair, light, whatever you want to call me, to make sure that my little black babies understand that they're beautiful, regardless if their hair is long, regardless if their hair is short, regardless if their hair is straight, regardless if their hair is if their skin is dark, if their skin is light. You are beautiful, and it's our responsibility as the older generation and older black women to make sure our babies who come up through the education system in wherever understand that their beauty is beautiful, no matter what color they are.
Well, let me give you an example. Snoop Dogg, who is a powerful entertainer, his daughter was getting dragged for being and Snoop really didn't come to her defense, and he's very known. He got other children that are very lighter and different. So we see it's not as much as our black mothers and aunts and grandmas, but it's also our black fathers and uncles and brothers they play a very essential role of accepting and rejecting. So when they was in Snoop Dogg is problematic, he make all these, he's always cheating on his black queen with all these other women. So he plays a part of that young lady having her own self-hatred for her skin, because it really, at the end of the day, it comes down to our mother and father, our home, our churches. Going to school is a very powerful force, our community. That's why I see a lot of my friends now are homeschooled, because they want to manage the narrative that is being played, but you have no control when they go out in the community. Only then do you know how well you have built your young king or queen up, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, speaking of which and everything, and I was going to get to that since we had some things we're going to get to, and this will be the last video. So I did find the video from back in January of the incident where the kid brought the gun to apparently either an elementary school or a preschool. So I know you wanted me to play that, so we're going to grab that video and then hear some comments around this incident that took place sometime back as well. So definitely this ought to be interesting conversation as well.
Roll the clip.
Police say the shooting was intentional. Ariel Reshef here with the story. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you guys. This story is just hard to fathom. That teacher is in stable condition and is recovering this morning. Police say after she was shot by that student, she managed to save the other children in her class. Authorities are now trying to figure out how and why that 6-year-old had a gun.
This morning, officials in Virginia piecing together how a 6-year-old got his hands on a gun and opened fire in his classroom, severely injuring his teacher.
This is an unprecedented situation that we're dealing with. This shooting was not accidental. It was intentional.
Police say the first grader took his mother's legally purchased 9mm handgun from home on Friday and fired one round at his 25-year-old teacher, Abigail Werner, as she was instructing the class. It's unclear why.
The round went through her hand, exited the rear of her hand, and into her upper chest.
Despite her wounds, Zwerner managing to clear the other kids out of the classroom.
She turned around to make sure that every one of those students was safe. I believe she did save lives.
The teacher stumbling into the administrative office where LaWanda Sample Rusk was picking up her grandchildren.
She said, call 911. I've been shot. Then she passed out.
Those in the office rendering first aid until paramedics arrived.
We immediately found towels and tried to put pressure on her wounds.
Mark Anthony Garcia Jr., an 8-year-old second grader, was just down the hall as the harrowing ordeal unfolded.
We all went to the safe room, and then after we got there, for a few minutes, people started crying.
Police say a school employee restrained the 6-year-old shooter until officers arrived, finding the gun on the floor.
The 6-year-old is under a temporary detention order and is receiving treatment at a medical facility. Police are still investigating how that child was able to get a hold of the gun inside his home. Officials are also now working to determine if the parents should face any charges. But this teacher was truly a hero.
You want to go first, Ida, or you want me to go first?
Well, you know, I live in Virginia. As soon as it came on, I could tell by the news report. I said, "Oh, this is a young black boy." I could tell by the words, the power of words, and the building up to the victim, and I have seen the opposite of when it's a white. Everything is protected. Don't make on the news. I'm protecting. I got to show the white lady, and so you quickly knew the child was black, and the mother had been charged with 2 felony counts. She pleaded guilty of it. And so, like you said, when our young blacks commit, we begin to victimize them and make them thugs. And so they didn't use that word, but they built a good scenario around be afraid, you know. And so, you know, like I said, you know, me, I had some questions around it because, you know, why would you leave? And, you know, more detail, but I know you're going to take it and run with it. I know he was a special needs autistic child. I felt she was very negligent. Why would you leave a gun around children? So I didn't make that a race issue, but the media made it a race, and I know you're ready to run with it. So let me just go and start clutching my pearls.
Before you run with it, there is a major commercial that is actually, I think, a white couple that is running into that issue, and I forget what the commercial is like for a public service, but they are literally running around the house, finding out where they kept the gun, and in this case, they're keeping it in a drawer, like where you keep your clothes at and everything, and then they run upstairs because they are afraid that the kid who is their son has gotten the gun and eliminated himself. So this is definitely a narrative that is out there. So I know a lot of people are concerned about the nature of guns and people that are storing the guns and not thinking about making sure that they are 100% secure. But then I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Anthony.
I mean, it's very interesting that, you know, they're talking about how, you know, the mom was negligent with the gun or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's only negligent because she's black, because in all these other mass shootings or whatever, you know, they had all these guns in the houses, and, you know, the kids had access to the guns, but the parents wasn't charged. You know what I'm saying? In the Columbine, you know, the parents wasn't charged. The other situations in Miami, was Stroman Douglas, the parents wasn't charged. You know what I'm saying? In the case in with the kids that were being killed in the other place in upstate or whatever, the parents you know, he actually killed his mama, but you know, the parents wasn't charged, and they never say anything about the parents being charged. The white woman drove her son to kill people across states. She wasn't charged. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when it comes to black and white, it's a strong difference and things like that or whatever. Do I think the parents should be charged? No, I don't think the parents should be charged. So they're trying to make it seem like this white woman is a saint. No, this white woman wasn't no saint. And if this little boy felt some type of way about her, she did something to this little boy. There was those small microaggressions that happens inside of the classroom that they deal with on a consistent basis that they never talk about. Hell, I dealt with it when I was in elementary school. You know what I'm saying? I had to write a letter, and I have documentation where I had to write a letter to the administrator of people, especially Asian women, coming up to me talking about, Dr. Anthony, can I touch your hair? And before I can even say anything, Here they go sticking their hands in my head. So I know if you're doing it to me as an adult, you're doing it to the child. So don't sit there and say, oh, you don't know what she did. No, you know exactly what she did. And the thing about it is, you know, they pick on, yes, I'm saying pick on. They pick on African-American men because the statistics and the data don't lie. You know what I'm saying? They pick on young Black boys, and the leading person that's in special ed right now is young Black children, especially young Black boys. So I'm quite sure she did something to tick him off. Am I saying the child was right to bring this gun to school? No, I'm not trying to say that the child is right. But at the end of the day, you're not listening to the child. You're not listening to the concern, because all communication, all behavior is some form of communication. And the first thing that they want to do is put our children in terms of, you know, special ed instead of dealing with the situation at hand. So I'm quite sure that she does something for him to be reactionary, because when you're working with children, especially Black children are relational people. They build relationships with their person that's in charge. And so I'm quite sure she had done something or said something out of the way to make him feel some type of way in terms of wanting to hurt her. Am I saying it was right? No, I'm not saying it was right. But you have to look at those warning signs, and you have to look at that behavior and to determine. And I'm quite sure she brushed it off, because that's what they do. They don't listen to our children, and they perceive it as, you know, a different way and things like that. But my whole point of wanting you to play this video was not really to address her, but to address the law enforcement who wants to bring charges up against the parent. Now, one time, have you heard anybody saying that they want to bring charges up against any of these white people and these white parents that supply their children with guns and things like that?
Well, that's what I wanted to get to, because I was going to bring up one of the clips.
Kyle Rittenbacher, his mammy drove him from one part of the country to another part of the country, and he killed 6 people. He couldn't even legally buy a gun. Somebody else bought the gun. But do you think that they're arrested? Did they arrest him?
No, not at all, because I'm actually going to play the commercial. Like I said, they are white women, the white couple that is involved, best I can tell from the voices. I'll play the commercial, and I personally think that these folks need to be arrested based on the way I heard the commercial when I first heard it and everything. But I want to hear y'all's thoughts about this and everything. So let's listen to this particular commercial as well, and y'all tell me y'all's views when you hear it.
All right, I'm at the house, and I'm gonna head inside. Okay, come on, this door. I'm in the house. What do you see? Let me check the den. There's nothing in the den. Let me check the kitchen. There's no one downstairs, it looks like.
Is it running?
Wait, what was that?
I put it on to run.
I don't know. Let me head upstairs.
See what's going on. Oh, did you look at it? Sorry.
What the? Did you shut this bathroom door?
No.
Oh no.
What?
It's not here.
What do you mean?
The gun's not here.
What? Where is it?
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Cam.
Oh my God. What's going
Cameron, are you in there? Open the door. Cam, please, please, open the door, Cameron. Come on, Cam.
Ooh. Okay.
Not all.
Well, I mean, you know, I understand the point that they're making, but again, at the end of the day, it's okay for them to leave their guns around, laying around, and then, you know, when they feel like their child is suicidal, oh, then it becomes a problem. You know what I'm saying? Then I need to lock my gun up or whatever. But again, at the end of the day, the white people have the luxury of, you know, having their keys and having their guns and everything else, the ammo out, and their children have access to it. You know, we have, you know, athletes who have gotten in trouble for, you know, posing with the gun, but you have the same professional athlete who are white pose with a gun, but they didn't lose their Nike contract. They didn't lose anything else or whatever. So, you know, it's totally different for, you know, black and white or whatever. So, you know, I'm going to always stand pressing. I'm going to always stand hard on, you know, my belief, you know, with this whole black and white thing. We already know it's three, it's different sides of the law. It's their law, it's the law for us, and then it's the law for the extremely rich. You know what I'm saying? So, they never address the fact that the white people have, their guns, their ammunition, and things like that. And like I said, no charges were brought against any of these white folks who went out and shot up and killed, all these people. Look at this boy, Dylan Roof, who went into the black church and killed all those people. They walked his ass out in handcuffs. They took his ass to get Burger King after he had killed all those people. Now, you have black people who are standing with their hands up high, not even a threat, but they're being shot in the back. They're running away trying to protect themselves for their lives, and they're being shot. The guy in Minnesota who willfully told the man that he had a firearm, and before he could finish saying firearm, he shot him, and he said he was legally carried. Castile, what's his name? Something Castile or whatever. So, it's bullshit when they say, oh, black people should just follow the law and black people should just do this. The black people do follow the law. The black people do this, and things like that. And I've always said that, they have these code words and these code terms because all of them wants to kill a black person. They want to shoot someone black. And that's just the bottom line to it, because you can't sit here and tell me that these people are not scared. If you scared, just say you scared. Don't get a job in damn law enforcement if you scared to be around black folks and if you scared to work with black folks. Just like over in Prince George's County, when those two black boys went up to the police station and started shooting at the police station, and this white cop killed the black cop, talking about he thought he was one of the suspects. How in the hell you thought that he was one of the suspects when he had partnered with you and when he had worked with you? So that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So they all have this vendetta against black people, and they all want to kill one of us at any point in time. So we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. I'm sorry, Ida, go ahead and cut your pearls.
Woo! Goodness. Oh man. Just take it, Mark. Take it over there. Take it, Mark. Take it.
Like I said, she needs some help. We're gonna get on out of here. And I don't know if she's got any closing remarks, but that was a powerful ending and everything. But there's a lot of conversation that needs to be had, and we got to be real about the discussion. And we've had another powerful discussion. We got to the videos that Dr. Anthony wanted, which is a good thing, and I added one or two as well. So we're getting ready to wrap everything up. Any thoughts about how folks can reach you?
So we're going to continue the conversation around, black and white America, and, the differences between, how people view black people in terms of law and, other situations, and how the law is catered to, white. We already know the law was not written for us, but, it just comes with the bullshit, around, black people need to do certain things to maintain our lives and, maintain our livelihood, which is a bunch of BS or whatever, because we can be outside being law-abiding citizens and still get gunned down and things like that or whatever. So, I just want you guys to take that into consideration, listen at the topics, talk about it, have those courageous conversations within your community, within, your circle of friends, because I have one white friend. I met the quota. I got one white friend, just like they do us. We have one black friend or whatever. So I got one white friend, and she understands my thought processes because we have conversations around this stuff and things like that. But the clock on the wall says that's all, and we're going to, call it a night. And I want to thank Mark and Ida for their commentary, and we will see you back here next Monday. So get ready. Make sure you click like and share. Oh, and I just want to tell you guys, we made it to the top 10 on the show. So keep watching, keep following, and keep sharing. So we are in the top 10. Yay!
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you, Mark.
Top 10, maybe number one by next week. With a bullet rising. So let's keep this conversation going.
Bye.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.